Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
The whole video is essentially, you know, her doing her thing with a guy and Diddy just walking around naked, essentially. And yeah, he's not packing. Let's just say that he is not well endowed under there. No Diddy, and it makes sense as to why he's done this. To say the least, it makes sense now. Like the dots have connected for me.
Ariel Mitchell Kidd, an attorney representing one of Sean Combs' accusers, has personally viewed a recording that she says shows Combs in an explicit encounter with a younger male A-list celebrity, and she is warning on the record that the footage is being shopped to media outlets right now. Either the celebrity buys it first to keep it buried, or the highest bidder gets to air it. She told News Nation and the New York Post that she has seen the video herself. She is not guessing. She is not repeating hallway gossip. She is describing an active market, and the transaction is already in motion.
He sort of talked to me about the schedule for the day. He explained the important rules. He explained count time, because they have to, look, the jail's main two things. They can't lose you and they can't you. So they have to, like, you know, count you, and they count you twice a day. Actually, 3 times a day.
You go to your bunk?
Yeah, you go to your bunk. At night, they'll come, you can be laying down. And in the morning, you can be laying down, but once a day, twice a day.
The reason this hits differently than some wild allegation is that the physical trail behind it is now enormous and beyond dispute. In March 2024, federal agents raided Combs' properties in California and Florida and hauled out hard drives, laptops, USB sticks, iPhones, iPads, and a specific collection labeled the Ibiza tapes. A court later ordered him to surrender every explicit recording in his possession as a condition of his sentencing. Court documents also confirm that agents seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant from his homes, a number that by itself tells you this was not a casual operation. Cassie Ventura testified under penalty of perjury that these recordings were used as a weapon to coerce her into situations she did not want to be in. That testimony transformed the tapes from embarrassing souvenirs into instruments of control, and it is now public record. The public tends to treat this material as locked-away evidence from a closed case. But that assumption is a dangerous fantasy, because multiple copies of this archive almost certainly exist far outside the FBI vault. And if you want to understand how widely distributed those copies really are, listen to the first-hand account of the man who was booked through an agency to spend time with Combs and a woman he was with. He walked into a hotel room and found Combs already directing the scene like a filmmaker building his own private library. Combs opened the door himself, played bad boy music to prove who he was, and explained that he was at a point in his career where he wanted to curate and make his own explicit material. During the encounter, Combs propped up his phone to record. When the hired companion objected, Combs put the phone down, but a laptop was still open on the table nearby, so the companion walked over and closed it himself. That is not the behavior of someone who accidentally captured a moment. That is the setup of a man who made a habit of documenting everything, and the most reckless detail of all is that Combs recorded some of this footage on the companion's own phone and never deleted it afterward. He just left it there. The companion was paid $5,000 for the night, but the real value was in the footage Combs was stockpiling. The archive is not a neat box in a federal evidence locker. It is scattered across devices, across participants, across people who were never meant to hold on to it. Now look at what the industry has done with all of this. Almost no major male rapper or power player in the entertainment world has issued a forceful, on-the-record denial or condemnation of Combs since his conviction. That is not normal. After a federal case of this nature involving a central figure, the standard response is a stampede toward distance. Everyone rushing to make it clear that the person standing next to you at parties is not someone you ever really knew. Here, the opposite has happened. The silence is not loyalty, and it is not some street code of refusing to speak on a fallen king. It is a hostage situation. Every person who stays quiet avoids drawing attention to themselves, but collectively, their silence becomes the loudest piece of evidence in the room. Innocent parties in any other scandal cannot wait to tell you they are innocent. In this one, they are praying you do not ask.
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
All right, okay.
50 Cent is the exception that proves the rule, and he is not being subtle about it. He has been mocking Combs and Daphne Joy openly for weeks, posting that she is not a victim, making crude jokes about Combs' physical shortcomings, and treating the entire disaster like a punchline he has been waiting years to deliver. He even produced a documentary about the allegations, turning the scandal into content while everyone else hides. He can do that because he is safe. He is not on any of these recordings, and his public mockery is a signal that he has nothing to fear from whatever is on them. Everyone else's refusal to say a single clear word is starting to look like the exact opposite signal. The industry's collective omerta is functioning as a rolling confession that nobody can stop. Meanwhile, the leak pipeline is already active, which makes the silent strategy even more fragile. DJ Vlad has publicly claimed that he authenticated the explicit video that surfaced online, allegedly showing Combs, Daphne Joy, and adult film actor Sly Diggler. Vlad says he spoke directly to Diggler, and that the footage originated from Diggler's own phone. That video is 100% real, Vlad said. I have no idea where it came from. Maybe somebody hacked his phone. That detail matters enormously because it proves that participant devices, not just the federal evidence locker, contain copies of these encounters. The digital trail is not locked up. It is sitting on phones and laptops that were never seized, never secured, and never controlled. On top of that, social media reports, unverified but widely repeated, claim that explicit recordings were played in a closed Manhattan court hearing, exposing the content to jurors and court personnel. The claims describe 6 separate recordings spanning from 2012 to 2022, with Combs allegedly seen wandering around, observing and directing acts. None of this has been officially confirmed, and the descriptions remain secondhand. But even if only a fraction of those reports are true, the structural reality does not change. The number of people who have already seen some of these recordings is far larger than the public imagines, and every single one of them is a potential exit point.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
That brings the whole mess straight back to the recording that Ariel Mitchell Kidd says she has watched. This one is not about an adult film performer or a model whose name was already bouncing around the gossip circuit. It is about a younger male A-list celebrity, someone whose face is clearly visible in the footage alongside Combs. 2 members of his inner circle told the New York Post that he is horrified. He did not know he was being recorded. It feels to him, they said, like a betrayal and a violation, something that brings up disturbing and bad memories. So all he can do right now, according to those insiders, is pray that the whole thing goes away. Mitchell Kidd's response to that prayer is the part that should make everyone sit up straight. She told News Nation flatly that prayer will not work in this situation. "There is a thing of value that is for sale," she said. "The only way to control it is to have possession of it, and the only way to have possession of it is to purchase it." She also revealed that 1 or 2 major news networks are already in a bidding war for the footage. That is not a hypothetical threat. That is a live auction, and the person on the recording is being told that his privacy has a price tag. If he does not pay it, the rest of the world gets to watch. The financial logic here is vicious and self-reinforcing. A recording that can be sold for an enormous sum to a media outlet, or quietly purchased for an even larger sum by a frightened celebrities camp, creates a bidding war with no neutral outcome. The incentive structure makes it more profitable to leak than to stay silent. Every person who holds a copy, every lawyer who has viewed the material, every participant who still has a phone with old footage on it is sitting on an asset that only grows in value the longer the industry stays frozen. And the clock is ticking for anyone who might consider buying their way out, because once a recording circulates, no amount of money can pull it back. The market is not waiting for the legal process to play out. The market is moving faster than any courtroom ever could.
I mean, let's just be real for a second. There are a lot of lawyers who call this legal extortion. And that this is the way the legal system works, which is you threaten somebody with reputational harm. And in this case, it's interesting that Jay-Z, who's very wealthy, said it would be financial ruin.
And the copies are not sitting in one place. The FBI evidence chain is only one node, and it is already clear that the pipeline extends far beyond it. The Daphne Joy footage allegedly came from Sly Diggler's phone, not from a federal raid. Mitchell Kidd has personally seen the male celebrity recording, which means at least one copy exists in the hands of a lawyer. Other attorneys for other accusers may have seen similar material. The unverified reports of courtroom screenings, even if they are messy and incomplete, suggest that jurors, clerks, and legal staff have been exposed to footage that has not yet leaked publicly. The system that was supposed to secure this evidence has instead multiplied the number of people who possess it or have witnessed it. There is no single vault. There are dozens of potential exits, and the financial incentives of the media market are pulling them open. What makes this moment so unstable is the way the silence and the market are now feeding each other. Every major rapper who stays quiet adds another layer of suspicion, and the existence of a shoppable A-list recording turns that suspicion into a countdown. The industry's strategy of saying nothing was always a gamble, but it only worked as long as the recordings stayed theoretical. They are not theoretical anymore. One has already leaked in partial form, another is being priced right now. The people who have refused to speak are about to discover that their silence did not protect them. It just made them the main characters in a story that someone else is about to tell. So here's the question that the industry is betting you will not ask. If a recording of a male A-list celebrity is already being shopped around like a piece of merchandise, what happens when that footage finally lands in public view and smashes directly into the partial verdict that was supposed to close the book? Because the legal outcome did not destroy the material. It just left it sitting there, fully intact, waiting to be seen. And the market is not going to wait for an appeal.
There is a partial verdict in the Diddy case after 2 days. The jury has reached unanimous decisions on 4 of the 5 counts.
The problem is that 5th count means that we don't get to find out what the verdicts are on the other 4 because they are hung up on...
The jury handed down a conviction, and almost everyone missed the part that actually matters. Sean Combs was found guilty on 2 Mann Act counts, transportation for illicit purposes, and sentenced to 50 months. But the same jury acquitted him on the far more serious charges of racketeering and trafficking conspiracy. That split was not a clean win for anyone. It was a crack in the floor, and the weight that is about to come down on it will be measured in civil lawsuits, not criminal charges. Because while the state was busy proving what it could beyond a reasonable doubt, a law firm was quietly preparing filings on behalf of roughly 120 accusers. And buried inside that number is a detail that changes everything. One of those accusers was 9 years old at the time of the alleged incident. That allegation alone, before a single complaint hits the docket, shifts the entire gravitational field of this story. It stops being a scandal about powerful men and embarrassing footage. It becomes something the institutions around Combs were supposed to see and did not stop. A young person, barely old enough to understand what was happening, is now attached to a case that the industry has been trying to memory hole since the raids. And when the civil filings begin, they will not be constrained by the reasonable doubt standard that tied the criminal jury's hands. Plaintiffs' attorneys can subpoena evidence, depose witnesses, and demand preservation of every recording in existence without ever needing to prove a criminal enterprise. The gap the acquittal created is about to be flooded from an entirely different direction. That flood has a mechanism, and it is broader than anything a federal prosecution could reach. Civil discovery does not care about omerta. It cares about documents and sworn testimony, and it will force material into the light whether the industry likes it or not. Each new lawsuit can name new participants, new locations, and new references to recordings that have not surfaced publicly. Some of those filings will almost certainly identify currently silent figures as witnesses or enablers. The silence that once looked like a clever self-preservation strategy becomes a liability the moment your name appears in a complaint, and you have never once said a word to distance yourself. The legal system itself becomes the leak mechanism, and no amount of sealed settlements can stop a subpoena that names you in front of the world. That is the structural reality, and it is already colliding with a man who has lost every tool he once used to control the narrative. Combs is inside the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center, reportedly under close monitoring, physically cut off from the favors, the calls, and the fear he used to keep people quiet. His lawyers are appealing to the Second Circuit, and their entire argument depends on a single assertion. Every encounter was fully consensual, but the public record of what those encounters actually looked like is getting harder to square with that claim by the day. The hired companion who spent time with Combs and a woman described a scene that was directed down to the second. Combs told her when to switch positions, when to pour the oil, and what to say. Afterward, he collected bodily fluids in a cup because, as he later explained, he liked to watch her consume them. That is not a mutual arrangement between adults. That is a man treating other people like props in a private production, and his appeal lawyers are trying to sell that as fully consensual from a cell where he cannot manage a single new revelation.
So what they're saying is, look, if you want to use the Mann Act to prosecute people who are moving prostitutes across state lines for commercial transactions, which again is what it's usually used for, that's one thing. But here, there's no commercial purpose. Diddy lost money. He ended up paying the prostitutes. The films were never distributed to anybody. The defense is saying it was for his pleasure and the pleasure of people who may have been.
The isolation inside that detention center is not just punishment, it is the complete inversion of his power. The recordings he spent years stockpiling are now evidence in federal custody, subject to civil discovery, and leaking through channels he cannot monitor, let alone control. Every new description of what those recordings contain, every new accuser who steps forward, every new filing that demands preservation, chips away at the consent argument before a single appellate brief is read. The man who once used footage as a weapon is now watching his own archive walk free while he sits behind glass, unable to coordinate a response, unable to call in a favor, unable to do anything except wait for the next shoe to drop. And the shoes are dropping from directions nobody had mapped. Producer Lil Rod stated in a documentary that Combs' own family member was present during these gatherings, in a room with multiple women, loud music, and substances. That claim, if it holds, does more than embarrass a family name. It means the behavior was so normalized inside the inner circle that nobody thought to hide it from the people closest to him. If family was in the room, then family knows who else attended, who else was recorded, and who else is now praying their name never surfaces. That kind of knowledge is its own form of leverage, and it means the people who might have once been counted on to keep secrets may now have the strongest incentive to cooperate before someone else names them first. Then, there is the rumor layer that has been building for months, the kind of talk that never makes it into a court filing but shapes how everyone in the industry is behaving right now. Jaguar Wright has been claiming for over a year that what happened in those rooms went far beyond humiliation. She says participants contracted serious illnesses, that certain figures who are no longer alive were directly connected to the gatherings, and that the list of people who knew stretches far beyond Combs himself. None of that is verified. Some of it is extreme, but the mere fact that the conversation has gone there is its own kind of pressure. Silence stops looking like prudence when the rumor mill is talking about lasting physical consequences and people who experienced young death. It starts to look like something the public will never forgive. Online, the speculation has taken on a life of its own, and while most of it is driven by commentators rather than court records, it has created an atmosphere where every silent rapper is being scanned for signs of panic. There's chatter that the recording Mitchell Kidd described, the one with the horrified A-list celebrity, is not the only one of its kind. Some corners of the internet are insisting that the real bombshell material involves Combs directly with other men in ways that go far beyond what any lawsuit has alleged so far. YouTubers have been pushing the idea that the footage yet to surface would expose a side of him that was never public, and that certain powerful people are far more frightened than they are letting on. Again, none of this is confirmed. None of it is in a complaint. But the volume of the chatter tells you something about what the industry is terrified might be true, and why the bidding war for one recording might just be the first of several auctions nobody wants to admit are coming.
She
Walked away, got no money.
got nothing.
Over.
And Jay-Z celebrated that, the fact that
We should say, and it was filed by the lawyer who has filed a slew of...
Here's the brutal part for anyone hoping that money can still make this go away. Even if the frightened A-list celebrity manages to scrape together the funds to purchase the recording that is being shopped, that one transaction solves nothing. The civil lawsuits are coming regardless. Each filing will contain its own demands for preservation, its own discovery requests, and its own references to material that has never been seen by the public. Suppressing one recording is like plugging a single hole in a dam that is already cracked in a dozen places. The market for these recordings is real and it is vicious, but it is no longer the only mechanism of exposure. The legal process is about to do what the underground market could not: force names and footage into the public record under oath on a timeline that no payoff can delay. Every time a new accuser steps forward, every time a new filing lands, the gap between what the criminal jury decided and what the public will eventually see with its own eyes grows wider. The split verdict created a limbo where the recordings are not fully sealed and not fully public, but they are fully real. And now, 120 civil suits, a 9-year-old accuser, and an industry's worth of paranoid whispers are pouring into that limbo at once. The acquittal on the most serious charges was supposed to be a victory for the defense. Instead, it created the exact conditions for a wider exposure that no appeal and no sealed settlement can stop. All of this funnels back into the same fault line that opened the moment the jury came back. The state proved enough to imprison one man for 50 months. It did not prove a criminal conspiracy. That left the recording suspended in a space where public judgment would fill in what the law could not. That space is now crowded with pending lawsuits, a young accuser whose age makes the entire industry look complicit by proximity, and an archive that is leaking from so many directions that no single institution can plug the holes. The acquittal was not a wall, it was an invitation, and the civil system is about to accept it.
They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act. And they hung 6 to 6 on
The complete list of who appears on those recordings does not exist publicly. But it exists. It exists in the memory of a juror. It exists in the files of a dozen lawyers. It exists on hard drives in federal custody and in the discovery requests being drafted right now. Every rapper who has stayed silent is making a bet that their name is not on that list, and that bet is getting worse by the hour. A leak, a new lawsuit, a desperate public statement. Any one of these can trigger the cascade. The silence is no longer a shield. It is a fuse, and it is burning towards something nobody can control. The recordings are real. The lawsuits are coming. The silence is breaking. The only open question now is whose name drops first, and who will be forced to explain themselves when it does. Who do you think is sweating hardest tonight? Let me know in the comments. I will be right here.